Hello everyone and welcome back to another playthrough here on HP Boarding. As you can probably see here, I'm not going to be playing a new game this week. I'm actually going to revisit one of my played games already, and this is Pathfinder. It's a highly requested game and people seem to both enjoy watching and playing this game, and I can understand that. It's a really fun game to both play, and I think it's an enjoyable experience watching someone play this game. I'm gonna continue on with the Perils of the Lost Coast adventure here. I already played Bring a Doom, and I'm gonna play the Poison Pill, which is the next scenario in this adventure. Just real quick before I start, I did mix in the burnt offerings cards into my last playthrough, and I actually think that's fine. I don't think they are that much more powerful than the base set, so I think it's fine. If you want to do that, you can go ahead and mix them together, but I have now separated those cards out from the base decks, and I have remade the character decks to not include one of those new cards. Basically, the only really big change here is that Seoni will lose her Scorching Ray spell, which was a really powerful spell that she had. It was just slightly more powerful than her normal spells. It allowed her to use 2d6s instead of 2d4s, and that's kind of huge actually. So yeah, that's the major change. The only other change I had to make was Valeros had to give up his Dog Slicer, which was a sword. He just kept his short sword +1, which I acquired during the last playthrough. So those were the only two changes that I had to make to the character decks, because I actually discarded all of the burnt offerings cards that I got during my last playthrough. So this, for now, only has base game cards in it. Like I said, I think it's fine. It's fine to mix these the burnt offerings into this, because the cards are not that powerful. So if you want to do that, just go ahead and do that. The reason I'm separating them again is because I think the adventures that come after this actually probably are going to have much more powerful cards. So I want to be consistent. I want to add these when they are supposed to be added. Otherwise I will just keep adding to my decks, and they will be both enormous, and I will have some major advantages during some scenarios. But what I have decided is, when I do go ahead and add the burnt offerings cards into the supply for my scenarios and adventures, I will actually remove the same number of base game cards from the box, and I will not be using those for future playthroughs. Otherwise I think it's going to be way too hard to try and find those burnt offerings treasures and weapons and such. So yeah, that's one. I don't know how that's supposed to work. I think you are supposed to remove base game cards as you play this base game scenario, but I'm just gonna wait until the end, and then after I have finished my character decks, I will be adding the burnt offerings cards, and I will remove some base game cards from the box, thereby giving me the same chance of finding these new weapons as I would have to find one of those base game cards and spells. Alright, just another quick thing here. I did manage to get my hands on the new character add-on deck as well. Looking at these characters and reading about them online, I already saw that there is a paladin in here, so the paladin will for sure be added to my party for the burnt offerings adventure. But I think for the base adventure I will keep these base heroes, and since I will not be getting any better cards, I can just rebuild the paladin deck if I need to make her as strong as the other two characters. I do think that I will still be using 3 character setup for my future playthroughs as well. And this is mostly because of the space here. It's way too it gets way too crowded with 4 characters. I tried to use 4 characters, but it just wasn't feasible. So I'm just going to keep for three characters for now. Keep this setup the way it is. So yeah, you can look forward to seeing these characters, seeing them explained, and a more in-depth look at each and every one of them when I get to the burnt offerings. But that's going to be in 2 sessions. So first I'm going to complete this what's it called, poison pill scenario, and then it's the Black Fangs dungeon, and after that we are going to go to the burnt offerings adventure. So I just want to show this and just kind of showcase that I have bought the character add-on, but I will not be using any of these characters for this and the next session. But the session after that I'm gonna pick one of them, or maybe more characters from maybe even exchange some of the other characters. I think Kyra is staying, no matter what. Kyra is going to be staying here. I do like Seoni, but maybe Valeros can be exchanged for the Paladin, since I like the Paladin much more, or the Paladin role or archetype much more than I do this kind of a warrior-ish type of archetype or character. So okay, let's get into this. If you are not familiar with this game, if you don't know the rules, I will not be going through the rules and through the setup for this scenario in this session. I've already done that in my first scenario, or my first session, which is the Bring a Doom scenario from this exact adventure. So if you are curious, go take a look at those videos if you want to find out the rules, the base setup of the game, and how the game is played. I have already set the game here. The villain is already shuffled into one of these locations, and we are actually ready to begin. So let's just take a quick look at the poison pill scenario here. So here we have it. The villain is Pillbog Podiker. Henchmen are poison traps, and we will be getting to those as we explore our locations. And then during this scenario there is a special rule: add 2 to your checks to acquire allies. There are actually quite a lot of allies in these locations. I think it's probably the second most type of boon that you can find in these locations. And this scenario feels like a resupply scenario for the Black Fangs dungeon. There are not that many monsters. There's a number of spells, items and allies that you can find. So I think this scenario will actually be quite fast. I will be trying to do a little bit more editing, maybe putting in overlays. So for instance, instead of picking this card up and bringing it to the camera, maybe I will just read it from my hand, but at the same time I will have an overlay, a picture-in-picture showing the card. The problem with that is I have to take pictures of these cards and then I have to put in the overlay. So depending on how much work that takes, I will have to see. I will maybe do it for one video and then just kind of see how much work I have to put into this. If it's too much work, I'm not going to be able to do that, because yeah, I don't have that much time during my week to actually spend that much on editing. This is not my job. This is just something I like to do. So I think the way I have been doing things for my last few games and scenarios, I think that's going to define my style. But I will be doing some sort of editing just to kind of get a feel on for it and see if it's actually feasible to make a little bit some better effects and make it more readable for the audience, so I don't have to pick the card up and angle it away from the light and such. It is quite sunny today, so you will have to excuse if there is a lot of glare and such. I don't have any extra lights on at the moment. This is just from the windows, and I actually have my shutters down, so this is going through the shutters, so I'm hoping that it's somewhat visible here. I do see that there is a lot of glare on the decks up here, but hopefully it's somewhat visible. It's not too distracting. Okay, so that's the poison pill. I will have to remember this. I'll probably forget it Add 2 to your checks to acquire allies. So yeah. Reward for completing is each, let's see if you can see that, each character draws a random weapon for the box. So it's not a great reward, it's just some random weapon. It can be whatever, basically. So okay, that was the scenario card, and we are now ready to begin our adventure. Alright, so before we take our first turn, let's just take a look at our locations for this scenario. We begin by examining the city gate here. Here is the deck list for this location. 2 monsters, 1 barrier, 2 weapons, 2 items and 2 allies. There's quite a lot of boon type of items here. So I think all of these locations actually have quite a lot of boon cards in them. There isn't that many bane cards, but let's see. At this location, this is kind of important. I'm probably gonna forget these rules. So yeah, at this location, if you fail a combat check, shuffle a random monster from the box into the location deck. So that's quite detrimental. I will have to keep my eye out for that. When closing, summon and defeat a bandit henchman. We already fought these bandit henchmen in our last scenario. They are not that difficult. When permanently closed, no effect. And there is no effect for permanently closing this location, so nothing else will occur. Alright, so that was the first location, and then we have the second location, which is the general store. Actually, let me see if I can do this. This is kind of better when there's this much sun in the room. So this is the general store. The deck list is 2 monsters, 2 weapons, 1 armor, 3 items and 1 ally. Once again, not that many bane cards, quite a lot of boon cards. At this location, if you encounter anything other than an armor, an item or a weapon, after the exploration you may explore again. So this is just like the last location that we had, which was the academy, I think, or something like that, which allowed us to explore if we didn't find a spell. Maybe it was the temple, it was something like that anyway. When closing, banish a card from your hand. So that's sort of detrimental, but like I said, these base game cards are not that important anyway. When permanently closed, on closing, add 1d6 random items to this location without looking at them, then automatically acquire the top card. So I'm guessing that if you close this, well, actually all of the cards are banished when you close it, so I think you only make a stack with these cards and then you just take the top card. But we will be getting to that later on. Let's see, there is no effect when it's permanently closed, so you can still visit this location but nothing else will occur there. So that was the general store, and then we have the village house. So let's do this as well. The deck list for the village house is 1 monster, 1 barrier, 1 weapon, 1 spell, 1 item, 3 allies and 1 blessing. We have already seen that most of the locations that we have looked at have quite a lot of allies, and the scenario adds 2 to your check to acquire allies. So that's pretty good. At this location, when attempting a check to acquire an ally, you may instead recharge a card to automatically acquire the ally. So that's another bonus for acquiring allies. When closing, banish a card from your hand, just like the last location, and then no effect when permanently closed. And no permanent effect after you have closed it either. So this scenario seems like it's a restock of allies for the Black Fang's dungeon. So thematically speaking, you are gathering people to go into the Black Fang's dungeon. So we get to the 4th location here, which is the town square. Barriers 1, monsters 2, weapons 1, spells 2, items 1, allies 2. At this location, you may discard a card from your hand to explore during your turn. This card may not be recharged. When closing, banish a card from your hand. When permanently closed, on closing, each character at this location must immediately choose a card and recharge it. Each character may then draw a card. So that's not that much of a detrimental effect. Also, there is no effect when permanently closed, so we don't have to worry about anything. We can pretty much close all of these and move to them if we want to. There is also no boons for doing so. So yeah, let's see. The Apothecary, the deck list: 1 monster, 1 weapon, 3 spells, 1 item, 1 ally, and 2 blessings. And then at this location, if you did not explore this turn, after you reset your hand, you may shuffle the top 1d6 cards from your discard pile into your deck. So this is kind of a slow heal. Actually, it's the top card of a 1d6 cards pile. So alright. No, it's the top 1d6 cards. So yeah, this is quite a big heal actually. So that's great. This location is pretty good. When closing, succeed at an intelligence or craft 6 check. Okay. When permanently closed, no effect. Once again. Well, this time we actually do have a permanently closed effect at this location. If you did not, well, no, this is the extra rule just for this location. So there is no other permanent effect that lingers after you have closed this. Alright, so that was a quick look at the various locations for this scenario, and I've already placed my characters here. As you can see, Valeros is at the general store because that's where most of the weapons are, so he will be trying to get some weapons. He is also pretty much safe being on his own. And then we have Kyra and Seoni over here at the Apothecary. That's where the spells and blessings are, so they will be trying to get through that deck as soon as possible, trying to collect the various spells and blessings. And since there are not that many Bane cards in these decks, I might actually not close location if I find a henchman early on. I might just leave that location, well, actually close that location once I have fully explored the deck for that specific location. So alright, there's one last thing to do, that's build the blessings deck, the timer for the game, and after that we are ready to take our first turns. Alright, so here we go. The timer is built, we have 30 blessings here. I moved it to the left side, I had it on the right side last time, but I had to reach over the entire table to get to that pile, so I moved it to the left side because I'm standing on the left side of the camera. It's a little bit easier for myself. Just like last time, if you didn't watch, I'm gonna have the discard pile here, having the cards kind of diagonally here, and then I'm gonna keep the player hands up here, and the same for the other 2 characters. The turn order, once again I made a mistake here ordering these characters, but the turn order will be Valeros, Seoni and Kyra last. I'm keeping Kyra last because if something goes wrong later on with Seoni or Valeros, I can move with Kyra to their location and heal them with her special ability. So let's begin here by drawing our starting hands. Let's see, for Valeros, he has a hand size of 4. Now, these character sheets are actually available for free download at Paizo's homepage, paizo.com. So I think instead of me bringing these up all the time, like I said, I will be trying to making some editing for this video, so maybe I'll put some overlay here showing the character cards. But if I do not find that I have the time to do that, I think the best option is if you were to download these free character cards so that you can look at them while I'm playing, so I don't have to bring these up to the camera all the time. I will, however, be telling you what type of dice I'm rolling, what the skill says and such, but I just don't want to pick the cards up all the time and show what the card says. I think that's a little bit frustrating both for me and for people that are familiar with this game. So I will just be saying like Valeros has hand size of 4, and then you will either have to accept that or go check that online if you think that I'm lying. But yeah, I don't think anyone thinks that I'm lying. So let's draw the starting hands here. Valeros has a hand size of 4, like I said. And his favorite card is a weapon. We do not have a weapon in our starting hand here, so we have to discard and then we have to draw again. So let's see. It's a blessing, it's a blessing. It's a standard bearer. Wait, actually, I didn't shuffle these. That's why he doesn't have a blessing. So I'll be back after I've shuffled these. Yeah, I just remembered that I had to pick out the burnt offerings cards from my character. So I once again sorted the cards. So I'll be back shortly. Alright, so here we go. I have thoroughly shuffled all 3 of these decks. So let's see if we can find some acceptable starting hands. If you don't know, the character have a favorite type of card, and if you do not get that type of card in your starting hand, you have to redraw the starting hand. They have to start with their favorite card. So let's see, here's the first card. It's the wooden shield. It's a longsword, it's a soldier, and it's a longsword again. So this time we not only have a favorite card, we have 2 of them, 2 longswords. So this starting hand is fine for Valeros. So I'm gonna keep that. And then for Kyra, her favorite starting items or starting card is her favorite card is a blessing. So she needs a blessing. So she has a half plate, a mace, a blessing of the gods, another blessing of the gods, and the cure spell. She has a starting hand of 5. Maybe I should have told you that before I started drawing. But Valeros has a starting hand of 4. Kyra has a starting hand of 5, and Seoni has a starting hand of 6. So we do have a blessing, and luckily this time we also have a mace compared to the last time, or the last scenario we did, where Kyra didn't have any weapon until much later in the game. So let's see, for Seoni, her favorite type of card is a spell, so we need a spell to be able to keep. And here we have a spell which is Lightning Touch, and this is the card that I replaced the Scorching Ray with. So this is just a basic card. This is just like Acid Arrow, and I don't actually remember what the other one was, but she has 3 of these in her deck. So let's see, that's an Acolyte, Amulet of Life, 5th card is a Codex, and 6th card is Blessing of the Gods. Codex can add dice to your check to acquire a boon, which is great. You get to add 1 die, and that's the die that you will be using normally to acquire that boon. And then the Acolyte is a great ally that she got. Actually, Seoni improved the most during the last scenario. There were a lot of cards that helped her. The other characters didn't improve all that much, but they are pretty powerful to begin with. The Acolyte, recharge this card to add 1d4 to your Arcane or Divine check, so that's pretty good. Recharge this card to add 1d6 to your check to recharge a card with the magic trait. So the Acolyte is pretty good for a magical user. The best part of the Acolyte is it recharges, it doesn't discard, so that's great. So her starting hand of 6 card is acceptable because we do have 1 spell, the Lightning Touch. Alright, so let's see, let's put the Kyra's hand up here. And like I said, Valeros will begin at the general store, while the other 2 will begin at the apothecary. So we begin the turn. Right now we flip over the first blessing, and it's just a blessing of the gods. Valeros will not be moving. He doesn't have anyone at his location to give any cards, so he will take his first exploration here. We do feel pretty comfortable with exploring, since we do have both a weapon, or actually 2 weapons, and 1 armor item. Plus we have an ally which can help us in combat. So let's explore here. And that is the Potion of Healing. It says, banish this card and choose a character to add to at your location to shuffle 1d4 random cards from his discard pile into his deck. The check to acquire is Intelligence or Craft of 5. Valeros has an Intelligence. He gets to roll a d6 for his Intelligence roll. This is not a great item, so I will not be using any cards to actually enhance my roll. So I will just be rolling a d6 to try acquire this for my intelligence check. Just to make sure, let's see if the general store has any special rules for this particular. If you encounter anything other than armor, item or weapon, we get to explore for free again, and then nothing else. So there's no additional bonus for us acquiring something. I do remember that one of these had a bonus for acquiring boons, and this is a boon card, but nothing at this location. So okay, let me actually bring these dice up here so I have them handy. But like I said, d6, so let's see, we need a 5 or a 6 to be successful, and that's actually a 6, so he is successful. He acquires this boon. I don't know if you can see this. This is the only place that I can have this tray at. I don't want to be picking it up all the time. Hopefully I can roll against the wall here or the side here so that you can still see the die. But that was a 6, so he was successful, and he now acquires this to his hand. We could explore again if we had a blessing, but luckily we do have the soldier, and one of the soldier modes is discard this card to explore your location. And I feel pretty comfortable that there's nothing that threatening at this location here, and we do have 2 swords in our hand already. So I will be doing this. I will discard the soldier, and then I will explore once again. Okay, great. Just as I said, there is nothing threatening there, obviously. An ogre appears. It's a giant ogre, or the traits here. Powers. If undefeated, the ogre deals 1 combat damage to each other character at this location. Alright, that's not too bad. Check to defeat, combat 14. Now that is pretty rough. But let's see. What we are going to do is we are going to reveal one of these long swords, and that will add a allow us to use either our strength or melee die plus 1d8. The Valeros melee die or strength die is a d10, and his melee die is the strength die plus 2. So we will obviously be using the melee die here. So that's a d10 plus a d8, and additionally I will discard this to add another d6. So let's just add that to the pool here. We have first of all we have a d10, then we add a d8 for revealing the weapon, and then we will discard the weapon to add a d6. Valeros has a special power which says that each time he discards a weapon, it automatically recharges instead of discarding. So this will be put at the bottom of his deck instead of going into his discard pile. But this is pretty weak actually. We do have a plus 2 modifier, but the ogre has we have to roll 12 to be able to defeat this, so 12 plus 2 is 14. And that's pretty rough with just these dice here. So I think in addition to that, Kyra will actually use one of her blessings to add to this roll. So she will use one of her blessing of the gods to add another die to this roll. Since this is a melee check, we add another d10 to our roll. So let me just find some random d10 here. Let's see. Alright, so let's pull these up here just so I have some extra dice. Maybe I should have done this before. Alright. So here we go. Here we have another d10. So now we have 2 d10s, a d8 and a d6. Alright, so let's see if we can make this. We need a 12. Ah, that's good enough. That's a 5, so that's 10, and then an 8, that's 18, and then a 6, that's 24. That's quite enough. Now you might be asking, why did I actually use that blessing? I probably could have defeated this anyway, but that's not always certain. And if this guy were to hit us, he could actually empty our entire hand, so that's not that good. I don't want to lose to the first monster I see, so it's a good idea to use one of these blessings now and then. So we defeated this, and this is now banished to the box. There was nothing specific for banishing monsters here, I don't think. Let's see if this can focus. No, this is just if we encounter something else. If you encounter anything other than an armor, item or weapon after the exploration, you may explore again. This is considered for every exploration, I think. This doesn't say for your first exploration. So since we faced an enemy, I think we can explore again for free. Yeah, doesn't actually say that this has to be during the first exploration or during the free exploration. So yeah, I think he can explore again. First of all, we banish this guy to the box here. Let's see. Valeros has these items in his hand, and I think it's pretty safe to actually explore again. So I will do that. I will take this third exploration here now for free. And that is a potion of hiding. Let's see, banish this card and choose a character at your location to succeed at a stealth check. Well, that's okay, I guess. It's a liquid alchemical basic item. Check to acquire intelligence or craft of 4. Like previously discussed, Valeros rolls a d6 for his intelligence checks, and I don't think this is something that I really want, so we will only be rolling this d6. So let's see. And that's a 2, so that's failed. This now gets banished to the box. And I think this is the step that you can actually choose. During this step, when you banish a boon to the box, you can choose to banish this forever, so taking it out of your deck. And that way, when you add the burnt offerings cards, you have one less of these pretty much useless items in your decks. But like I said, what I think I will be doing, I will just trim down my decks instead. Just do it manually, so to speak. I think that's fine. I don't want to have to keep these cards somewhere else. I want to keep them in the box normally. So I'm just going to banish this to the box. Alright, so that was Valeros' turn. He doesn't have anything else to actually do at his location. He cannot explore again. So we now get to reset our hand, and we also get a chance of discarding if we don't want something. And I want to discard this potion of healing. I don't think this is necessary right now. So I will be discarding this, and then I reset my hand by drawing 2 additional cards. And these are another weapon and a blessing. So that's great. Alright, so that was the very first turn, Valeros' turn, and we move on to Seoni. So we flip over the next blessing card here, which is another blessing of the gods. And then we have Seoni's hand here. So Seoni will also not give anything to Kyra, I don't think. This codex, well, it's just a basic book, so it doesn't actually give any divine traits to anything. And the rest of these are not that useful for Kyra anyway, so she will not be giving Kyra anything, and she will not be moving. She will actually explore here. So let's see. That is a detect magic spell. Now, I already talked about this, but let's just take a look at it again. The recharge down here, it says succeed on an arcane or divine 14 check. That is a misprint. This should be a 4 check, arcane or divine 4 check to successfully recharge this. This is a card that you can discard to examine the top card of your location deck, and if the card is a blessing or has the magic trait, you may immediately encounter it. So if it's a blessing, you may immediately take it. I think, at least for the blessing of the gods, you may immediately take it. I don't know for the other blessings. I think they are also automatically acquired. And then if it has the magic trait up here, like you see here, it says magic. If it's has one of these traits, or it has the magic traits up here, you may immediately encounter that card. So this is an, I don't know, it's not that good basically. But the check to acquire is Intelligence, Arcane, Wisdom or Divine, and you only need a 2. For Seoni, her best of these is the Arcane, which is a D12 plus 2, so we don't actually have to roll. She immediately she immediately succeeds at taking this card here. So she now has 7 cards in her hand. So let's just see what the apothecary says here, so that we don't miss a rule, if there is a special rule here. Let's see. If you did not explore, you may heal basically, and then nothing else. So there is nothing out of the ordinary at the apothecary. All right. So with 7 cards in hand, Seoni will discard one of her blessings to try and explore again. So let's see. We explore here. It's another detect magic. Oh, that's bad. It's actually quite bad. I was hoping for some better spells in specifically that stack there. But the same applies. She immediately acquires this. Don't have to do anything special here. And let's see. Well, yeah, I don't think I will be using the last blessing here. I think I want to keep it. So we go to ending the turn and resetting the hand. These... Well, actually, I can use one of these. Yeah, so let's do that. I will discard one of these before we end our turn. I will discard one of these to see what the... I should have done this before. Yeah, I should have done this immediately when I acquired that first one. So let's do that now. She will use this detect magic spell to see the top card here. So let's see. If nothing else, this just gives us a way to see what's on the top here. And this is actually a card with a magic trait, as you can see here. Magic, Divine, Mental, Basic. So let's pull it out so we don't have all this glare here. Discard this card to choose a character at your location to evade a monster. Put that monster on top of the location deck. If you do not have the Divine skill, banish this card. Recharge. Succeed at a Divine 8 check to recharge this card instead of discarding it. Alright. And the check to acquire here is Wisdom or Divine 8. That is, or 6 I mean. And that is a little bit of a problem, so let's just remind ourselves what Seoni has. Wisdom is a D6 and she does not have the Divine trait. So this is only a D6 and we actually have to roll a 6 to be able to get this. This is not really that powerful of a card, so I don't really care. So I will just be using a D6 here anyway. So let's see. Ha! That's a 6. Well, okay. She immediately gets this. And this was all possible because we used one of these detect magic, so now we have to discard this, but she can try to recharge it, and since this is Seoni and this card actually has the arcane trait, she automatically succeeds. So this is kind of like with Valeros and weapons. Seoni has this with arcane, with cards that have the arcane trait, or spells that have the arcane trait, I should say. This spell does have the arcane trait, so she automatically succeeds. So this is now recharged at the bottom of her deck here. Alright, so now the question is, should we keep on exploring here? We do have one other blessing to use. There are 3 spells, 1 weapon, one item, 1 ally, and 2 blessings in here. So, I don't know, we already have encountered 3 spells, so the spells are all gone. We don't have any spells to find here. But there are some other items to find, and I think that this is fine. I think it's fine for her to use this last blessing now. I kind of wanted to keep it, but looking at the deck list there aren't that much, there isn't that much of a danger actually exploring again, so I will do that. I will discard this blessing and I will explore once again here. So let's see. That is a throwing axe. Sadly, none of my characters really wants this. So this is an axe range slashing elite. Combat check, reveal this card to roll dexterity or range plus 1d6. Well, actually Seoni can make use of this. Her dexterity is a d8 if I remember correctly, so it's decent for her, but since she is now proficient with weapons, the difficulty will be increased by 4. So yeah, that's not that good. Check to acquire, dexterity or ranged 6. Well, we can have a go at it and see what happens. Her dexterity is a d8. Let me just check. Yeah, it's a d8. So we use a d8 and we need 6 or higher. And that's 4. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. That's 4, so that's definitely not good enough. So we banish this to the box here. Alright, so that was that. She has 6 cards in hand. We end her turn. And I would like to discard some of these. I think I will discard the Codex and the Detect Magic, since there aren't that many spells left in any of these locations, so I don't think we need the Detect Magic. But she can give the Sanctuary to Kyra during her next turn. So I will do this. I will discard 2 of these and then get 2 new cards. That's Bracers of Protection, not that good. And another Blessing, that's much better. So okay, we move on here. That was Seoni's turn. She didn't fight anything, but she did manage to go through 3 cards in that stack, just like Valeros did. So we move on to Kyra once again. Flip over a Blessing here, and it's a Blessing of the Gods. And now there is quite a lot of glare from the sun here. I'll have to move this box here, hopefully that fixes it a little bit. Alright, it's Kyra's turn. Let's see. She already used one of her blessings during Valeros' turn, so she only has 4 cards in hand. But the same thing applies here. She will not be giving any of these to Seoni, and she will not be moving. We will just explore here. So let's see. And that is a blessing, actually. Blessing of Saranray. Saranray. I don't know how to pronounce any of these. You would have to excuse me. I think it's Saranray. It's a divine Saranray trait. The powers: discard this card to add 1 die to a check, which is just a normal blessing power, and then discard this card to add 2 dice to a non-combat constitution check. That's decent. Discard this card to explore your location. That's like normal blessing power. And then recharge. If the top card of the blessings deck discard pile matches this card, recharge this card instead of discarding it. So this has to be another copy of this blessing. It cannot be, for instance, the Blessing of the Gods can copy the top card, but that doesn't count. You cannot recharge that. I already explained that in my first playthrough, first scenario. So check to acquire here, Constitution 4 or Divine 5, which is great because Kyra is a cleric, so she does have the divine trait, and I was talking about how I will not be pulling these cards up to the camera, but frankly I don't really remember these myself, so I have to remind myself a little bit. So let's see the divine, here we go, the divine dice is the wisdom die plus 2, so that's a d12 plus 2. So she has to get 5 divine here. So that's a d12 and we add a 2 modifier, and I think that's enough. Sure, this blessing is pretty good, but I don't think it's worth wasting cards on. So well,